Welcome back to my long form analysis of Janine and Ben from He's Just Not That Into You. As the only actual married couple, I feel like this couple serves such a special purpose that no one ever discusses. It is possible for your husband to just not be that into you. Janine is definitely a placeholder wife, but that's not what matters. What matters is how she handles it. Because Janine's not a placeholder because she was a Klingon or because she let a guy hang around who wasn't worthy of her. It's because she made the mistake of pushing for commitment. I think the film writers did such an incredible job with this particular couple because their entire environment was a metaphor for their marriage. The home that they were living in was under deep construction. You see it here, back with the wood paneling. Here's the unpainted drywall, light fixtures on the floor when they're having that disagreement. Everything about their home is unfinished, and the question is, what is the end going to be? As they're constructing their home, they're deconstructing their relationship. And there are so many amazing clues from the beginning that this is not going to work out. For example, when Janine's in the office with Gigi and she's, stressing out about Connor never calling her, one of the centerpieces of the beginning of the movie, Janine's like, oh yeah, Ben, my husband, didn't call me forever, like 7 days or something, when we first started going out, and now he's the world's best husband. There was a red flag that you missed. With Ben, the signs are less subtle. When the Affleck and Jennifer Aniston characters break up and he goes to visit his friend on his boat, he asks, what's going on with everybody? He says, oh, your ex-girlfriend's so busy planning her sister's funeral. And he says, what? Her sister's what? And she's like, oh no, the sister's wedding. And he's like, isn't that what I said? No, you said funeral, because he associates marriage with death. It's absolutely a Freudian slip, and his friend begins to probe deeper. I don't understand why anyone wants to get married, because remember, he and Jennifer Aniston's character broke up because he refuses to get married. Bradley Cooper, I'm just using everyone's real name. It's too hard to keep up with the fake names. He goes, yeah, no guy actually wants to get married. And if they do, all they're really thinking about are all the women they're going to miss out on. Now, at this point, it's important to note he's already started the flirtation with Scarlett Johansson's character. But that's not the only reason he's saying this. Because think back on his flirtation with her. It's all physical innuendo. He comes to her yoga class. She, skinny dips nude in front of him in the pool to entice him. And they're talking about we're just friends. Now, it's important to note this is affair starting behavior. And the affair starting behavior goes all the way back to when he met her at the market, took her number, and gave her his business contact info for another excuse to meet her again. He says, oh, I'm married, I don't do this, but I guess it's okay just to help you out with work. Creating excuses for what you know is going to be an inappropriate connection. And sure enough, it turns very quickly. And she says to him, why do you have to be married? You have to explain to me why you cannot live without this other woman. And that's when we get the real insight into his marriage. He said they dated all through college, and then when it was time for graduation, pointing to a graduation picture of the two of them, he'd said either Janine said they were going to get married or they were going to break up. And you date a woman too long and you're an asshole for not marrying her, and then you marry her and you're an asshole for marrying her before you're not ready. Tie it to the scene with Ben Affleck. No man wants to get married. If he does, all he's thinking about are all the women he's going to miss out on. Come back to this scene. He says after ScarJo skinny dips in front of him and, we're just friends. Oh, you're the best friend I ever had. You're letting me watch you swim around naked. Since he's clearly not thinking about missing out on the minds and spirits of women, he's complaining about not having enough intimacy physically. He's saying no man wants to get married because he's thinking about all women he's going to miss out on not sleeping with. All his wife's character was to him was the warm body who was in his bed at the time. So why didn't he just let her go? She clearly was not special to him. She gave him an out. But the problem is, men like this will always turn an out into an in. They will always try to have their cake and eat it too. She was giving him an out here. But the reason Bradley Cooper's character lies whenever he's confronted is because he intended to have his dream life. He intended to have his cake and eat it too. What he's doing is weaponizing selective honesty to try to force you into corners so he can have it his way. I've often talked about how men will change their behavior at different stages of your relationship. It's because your investment is greater and they want to see if your tolerance has risen too. Like I said, he'll be a perfectly wonderful guy when you're living apart. But when you move in together, which I do not recommend, do not cohabitate before marriage. But if you do, you will find his behavior will change because you're no longer going home to your own house every night. He knows you can't easily get out of the relationship. It's going to involve breaking a lease. You have a greater financial commitment, a greater logistical commitment. So you might be inclined to put up with more. And the stakes rise when you get married. Now it's going to take some legal documents to get you out of this mess. You're going to have to sever your finances. You're going to have to split things in half. A lot of women, things they would have broken up with when they were just a couple, they will let slide when they are married, because it's going to be so much work to get out of it. And this is how the ex-wives end up getting things in their favor. Now, mind you, in this scene, he's just been chatting up some other woman, but Janine comes in and he's like, ooh, I'm just daydreaming about how this room is going to look when we're done and we have our dream home and our dream life, and baby, I'm so into you. And Janine starts hinting around that she wants this to be a baby's room. And he's like, we're not there yet, but we're almost ready to start talking about it. If you were genuinely preparing for a child, the thing to do would be dealing with your underlying marital problems. This was a great time to open the discussion. Well, how can we talk about having a child when we never sleep together anymore? Like, you kind of need one to have the other. Or here's what I've been doing, I feel like, and thinking about the road that we're on. Tell me where you are and how we can come back together. But Bradley Cooper's character isn't going to do any of that because he wants leverage, not a relationship. He wants her to get more and more invested in their future, this house, a possible baby. And that way, when he tells you whatever he wants to tell you, you're nice and trapped and he thinks you can't get out. The prima facie scene. Bradley Cooper's character has fundamentally misread his wife. When he shows her the wood and then the laminate and says, guess which is which, and she guesses the wrong thing and says, well, I still want to buy real wood, even though I can't tell the difference because I want the real thing. What he hears is, she's invested in the look of our life. She wants everything to be perfect. Perfect dream home, perfect husband, perfect baby down the line. If I invest in giving her the perfect looking life, I can do what I want. You see, he had a plan that fell apart. That's why he had the plan of action all lined up. He tells her, announced, okay, I've cheated. I'm going to go stay with my friend on the boat. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. She's like, whoa, you're leaving me? I didn't say I wanted you to do that. He says, I thought as soon as you heard you were going to kick me out. She says, don't you think we should try and fix this? What he heard was permission to have his cake and eat it too. He says, oh, so I can do whatever I want as long as our life looks perfect. Aye, Captain, because she gives him the out again. I don't want you to leave, but is this what you want? And when he has to make a decision for himself, he says no after a long pause. Because ex-wives never want to close down an avenue where they're getting what they want. Right now, he really does have the perfect life. Janine is type A. The house is always clean. She's taking care of the day-to-day with the construction workers. She's decorated their gorgeous home, and he has plenty of time to swan around having an affair with Scarlett Johansson's character. The ex-wives love the aesthetic of having a wife. They love the calm, clean, luxurious aesthetic of having someone to do all of the grunt work. It's like having an in-house concierge who pays half your bills. So while he whines and plays victim to ScarJo's character, he's not going to do anything about it because he loves his life the way that it is. It's just like I said about Fatal Attraction. You have to watch out for men who do this. It's the fake trauma dump. Because that picture of them at graduation, he looked like he was having the time of his life. Whenever he was with Scarlett's character, he acted like the put-upon husband. She doesn't understand me and we don't sleep together and she made me marry her. But what's he telling everybody else? I'm so happily married and I love my wife. Because when Bradley Cooper's character meets Ben Affleck on the boat and they're talking about marriage, Ben asked him straight up, why did you get married? And he said, I love Janine. You're a happily married guy? Yes, I am. A lot of them love that. They love the aesthetic of being a responsible family man. They get paid for it at work. Married men get the most promotions, title, and salary increases. And it's just because in a patriarchal society, married men are looked up to. They are seen as inherently better and more responsible. Bradley wanted all that, but he also wanted the freedom to be a playboy on the side. Here he assumed he and his wife were making some compact about their future. But he missed what she had said. Janine said, I don't care if the laminate cost way less than wood and it looks just like wood. I still want the real wood because I don't like the way this laminate is pretending to be wood. I don't want to pretend to be the perfect couple. She did have goals, but to her, it was more important to do things right than to have things completed by a deadline. It was when the house was actually completed and she was putting on the final touches, like hanging up the mirror, and she discovers the cigarettes in his pocket and realizes he's been lying all along, not just about cheating, but about smoking, which is a huge deal breaker for her, that she smashes the mirror to bits and kicks him out of their shared home. In the end, she's back living in a, small apartment, but she would rather start over than live in a falsely constructed reality because it looks good. See, Janine had done the hard work. She went through what a lot of women go through, which is that there were little clues, not so much about the affair, but about his smoking and the fact that he was a pathological liar throughout the film. And she kept confronting him like she did here in this scene when she said, oh, you're having an affair and it's been you that's been smoking. He's like, what? No. What does that even matter? She's like, it matters to me. Have you been smoking? Have you been lying to me? He insists up and down that it's not him rather than just telling the truth. And then later, when she kisses him, tastes cigarettes, and says, you've been smoking, he gaslights her into believing that she's crazy, that the cigarettes and ashtray she had found in their own backyard actually belong to the workers, which leads to that hilarious scene where she confronts her contractor about whether or not he and his guys have been smoking on the job. He's got her running around looking like a crazy person, and she realizes he's never going to change. This is as much as he's offering out of marriage, an opportunity to look perfect while she was actually miserable. While this movie is not about decentering men by any means, it's a very important movie about how marriage is not magical. When Jennifer Godwin's character keeps coming back and talking about how women are not the exception, they're the rule, and men who treat you badly don't care about you, it really begins to permeate Janine's brain. Her husband has been lying to her. Her husband's been cheating on her. And she just looks back at the entirety of their relationship and is like, has this man ever wanted to be here? He's never going to change his behavior, and I don't have to put up with that. I feel like a lot of people miss the point of that marriage's inclusion. See, Jennifer Aniston and Janine are two perfect bookends. Jennifer Aniston is frustrated because she's been with Ben Affleck's character for 7 years and he won't marry her. And she's thinking, oh, if he had loved me, if he had married me earlier on, we wouldn't be in this mess. But Janine is the reveal of what would have happened if she had spoken up sooner and she had gotten married. You would just be with someone who settled, who didn't really want to be there, but who took you as a convenience and is still looking around outside your marriage. And let me tell you the point of the Scarlett Johansson character, because a lot of people don't really understand what that was there for. Aside from some TNA, so the men who were dragged to see the movie didn't complain. In this scene, this character actually got what she deserved. For years, it had bothered me that, Bradley Cooper was so comfortable putting her in the closet, having his wife come in, and then having intimacy with his wife, with his mistress in the closet. How did he know nothing was going to happen? How did he know that she wouldn't come out? It was in her behavior all along. This character was desperate for attention. Not just any attention, male attention and validation. Within a few minutes of meeting this man, she says to her, oh, I don't want to be like my mother and wake up and realize I never fulfilled my dreams. What's wrong with you? From the moment they met, she was looking to be rescued. She was holding all of her emotional cards in her hand, throwing them up in the air and saying, love me, love me. And while it was just perfunctory, he did reject her twice before finally engaging in the affair. He rejects her here where he said, I don't do this. I am married. Like he shouldn't have taken her information at all. And then when she calls him later on the phone and says, oh, you said you could help me with my career. He was like, it's not a good time. I'm married. I'm busy. Like, don't call me again. She would not have been as interested if he was not married because she was desperate for the validation of knowing that she was winning. That was why she asked him, "Why are you married? Tell me why you can't live without this other woman," trying to reverse her role and Janine's role. And he fed right into her ego. Well, she pretty much forced me. She strong-armed me into it. I wasn't ready. I didn't want to do it. And then he would give her an endless stream of compliments. "Oh, you're so hot. Oh, I can't help you. You don't help out women? Not women who teach yoga and have a smile like yours and those eyes. Oh my God." It goes back to what I was telling you all about, that false emotional intimacy. He spends all this time complaining about his wife, and she thinks, "Oh, I really know him." And then her friends are feeding this delusion with this, "Oh yes, people who have affairs are sometimes just meant to be together." Drew Barrymore telling her the story of her dad's friend who cheated on his wife with the lady he met at the church bazaar, and they lived happily ever after. And this is why you have to stay away from women who have not decentered men. They're going to tell you these bizarro land fairy tales where the cheater is actually the good guy who lives happily ever after, and the mistress is the love of his life. They will do that. There are people who have whole channels dedicated to that. They have an illness, but they have to justify their former behavior for the rest of their lives. Otherwise, they will never deal with the truth. And that's exactly what happened to ScarJo's character. She got forcefully slapped in the face with the truth. While I understand it was horrible to sit through, I always thought her reaction to him sleeping with his wife in the office was a bit hypocritical. You were literally engaging in the same act with him moments before. And then, of course, Janine comes in, she hides in the closet, ScarJo, and, she and the husband end up having it off. And then she goes and she comes out of the closet screaming, "You're a disgusting excuse for a man, and I can't believe you. You're horrible." You thought he was lovely when he was doing the exact same thing with you just a few minutes before. What's changed? It wasn't just the fact that he slept with his wife. It was the fact he said that he wanted to save their marriage, that he picked his wife essentially right in front of her. That's why she got upset, because all along he's been cutting down his wife. He has been complimenting you at his wife's expense. He has been choosing you over his wife, and you have made his wife a topic of discussion. You have brought her up multiple times, and you have felt comfortable and empowered having her name in your mouth. And when those tables turned, they turned hard. But I don't think she ever really understood what happened. In the end, Scarlett Johansson's character is very embittered. She's like, "Oh, and this is overrated, and I've taken a break from dating. I'm doing this and I'm doing that." Dating can absolutely be overrated. But the problem was she was looking for a savior, not a date. She was also looking to live happily ever after at somebody else's expense, which is never going to happen. Something will always ricochet. You will reap what you sow in this world. It may take time, but it's a guarantee. Janine was finally free when she realized she did not need any of what her husband was offering to make her happy. All he had to offer was the superficial, the appearance of being this perfect, happy family. The ScarJo character was completely happy with just the appearance of perfection. The only thing they had was the superficial. She didn't fall for Bradley because he was some deep well. He was just a hot guy who was able to give her some contacts and help her out a bit with her music career. And from that, she spun this huge fantasy that he was going to leave his wife for her, that they had fallen in love, and that they were going to live happily ever after because she was so miserable in her life. And that's what so impresses me with the Janine character. Janine wasn't miserable. She was antsy and, tense because her husband had been lying to her and she was figuring out something underlying. But before he revealed that he was cheating, she was perfectly happy living her life. When confronted with the truth, she chose to break up what superficially looked amazing rather than settle. Scarlett Johansson's character was just mad the choice was taken away from her. Because she had to know the man was going home to his wife every night and doing something. He was married to someone who wasn't her. He had a whole life with someone who wasn't her. And she was okay with that. But when confronted with the reality and forced aside, because no woman of any self-respect could stay after he slept with the wife right in front of her, her fantasy disintegrated in front of her eyes. Because when he said to his wife he wanted to save the marriage, and by making the choice he made to go ahead and have intimacy, it became clear to ScarJo's character she was only ever going to be a mistress. No longer could she delude herself into thinking that they were going to get married one day and she was going to upgrade. Her only choice would be to permanently stay in the background, and she was angry he took away her dream. That's what that was all about. In my opinion, the real point of this movie is that everyone in the world has something you think that you want. Guys like Connor would see the dream girl, who was Scarlett Johansson, with another man and think, I wish it was me. I wish I was in this relationship with her. But part of the interaction of these relationships was to show you somebody else is not going to get a better result. Bradley Cooper claimed that he, had been forced to marry Janine. He didn't really want to be with her. And then he met his so-called dream girl, Scarlett Johansson, and treated her the exact same way, down to going behind her back to sleep with someone else. That someone just happened to be his wife. His character was bad. That was the problem. Like his intrinsic personality. He was just a liar and a cheater who was always going to look for the easy way out. Whether it was marrying his wife when he didn't want to, whether it was having an affair, whether it was continuing to lie about having an affair or smoking or anything. A lot of women and men suffer from the delusion that when a man meets the right one, when he meets the one of his dreams, he is going to straighten up and fly right. There is no bigger lie. You are your habits. He had a habit of lying. He had a habit of not taking responsibility. And that didn't change overnight because he thought he met somebody he wanted more. You can't change men and you can't control men. All you can do is be responsible for your own behavior. So read the signs and act accordingly. When Jennifer Connelly finally discovered that Bradley Cooper's character was never going to change, she kicked him out and dissolved the marriage. That's all you can do with men like that. Like and subscribe, follow me here, and let me know more of what you want to see in the comments. I am thinking about doing other breakdowns for characters in this movie, and I want to hear all about y'all's thoughts. Comment and please watch so I can solidify this account and continue interacting with you guys. That's it. Like and follow for more.